My name is Jen, and I am on a journey in order to break free from the destructive patterns of disordered eating and in order to embrace a nourishing lifestyle. My roadmap can be described using an acronym of the word NOURISHER. So I'm doing daily video blog posts in order to encourage you, equip you, and keep you up to date on my progress. If this content is helpful or encouraging to you, please consider subscribing, hitting that like button, and sharing with others. It is my deep desire that these videos would help to ignite nourishing transformations in us all. Hey, thank you so much for joining me for my Nourisher Check In. I am so hot. I'm just at the end of a walk. I want to check in quick because I feel like I need a little bit of support, but I'm hot and I got to get home and have a shower. So in terms of noticing my emotions, I am feeling energized and inspired and excited. Today we were able to, after being, almost years of being closed and not being able to have sporting events, our town was able to host an outdoor sporting event today, and I was able to go as a spectator, socially distanced outside, but it was just so exciting to be inspired by these athletes. And so that was really wonderful, even to see other members of the community out and enjoying that together today. And that's basically as close to being with others as I got today. And, for those of you who are parents during this pandemic, I'm just finding it hard, especially during these summer months now that the kids are home, to find time for connecting with myself, let alone, spiritual practices or connecting with others. And I just wonder, how do you do that in the busy summer months when the kids are home in terms of opening up to others? And if you are in the midst of a healing journey, mental health or eating disorder, I wonder how you continue to maintain your recovery priorities throughout those busy times. So let me know your tips below in the comments or reach out to me. Otherwise, I would love to hear. But for me, it's just been, how do I just kind of enjoy the people who are around me throughout the day and keep holding on to these nourishing priorities? Because I feel like in terms of understanding the cycle, I feel like there's this magnetic pull drawing me back into that cycle of disordered eating. And so far I feel like by, God's grace and thanks to your help, being able to push away from those temptations or tendencies, but I know that they're always there. And let me talk about the one way is that I notice it really huge is in terms of body image right now. So body image is one of those areas where I've learned a lot in my head that not all of it has maybe translated to automatic responses in my heart. So my head believes that you can be healthy at any size, and that we can be embracing nourishing techniques and nourishing lifestyles, and our body's gonna just do whatever it's gonna do, and so it doesn't matter what we look like. It matters how we are, who we are inside, and how we care for ourselves and how we care for others and how we show up in relationships. And I believe that so much. And I believe that the scale doesn't matter, and I've thrown away my scales. I've done all of these things, and that our world, I believe, is, fat phobic, and the media is pushing this, basically almost like starvation-like look as the model. And I'm really against all of that. And yet, when I look in the mirror, my automatic response is to be repulsed. And especially right now when, my cycle is approaching and, things just retain a little bit more water. And rather than being so grateful for, my body and the cycle and the way that it's been designed and the beautiful little girls that it's helped me bear, I really get really repulsed. And so I'm wanting to work through that. And there was a great article by Charlotte, one of my new Twitter friends, wrote this great article, and I'll put it below. I highly recommend it. And she had these great recommendations for how do we start to deconstruct our ideas about body image and those automatic responses, and how do we embrace a loving, gracious relationship with our bodies. So her recommendations were, well, there's several, but I want to reflect on a few. One is to reflect on our values and to be really values driven, which I love. And that's what we do in this Nourisher Check In, is all about anchoring it in what do we value, why are we doing this, and recognizing that our bodies are a vehicle to help us live out our values. The second thing that she recommends in this article that I'll put down below is to practice body gratitude. Now, I've talked about this a little bit in other days, but that's what I'm trying to do right now, thanks to her article, is to remember these areas where I feel a little bit, more bloated, or that I have a harder time looking at into the mirror, is actually to stop and let myself look in the mirror and actually touch those areas and thank God for those areas and thank my body for the various things that have been accomplished through those areas of my body. And that's her next step, which is to focus on functionality, meaning focus on the functions that your body does rather than the way that they look. Because if your body is doing what you want it to do, then it doesn't need to look the same way as a body beside you. Can never. Your body is so unique to you, and my body is so unique to me. And so how can I embrace that and develop my body and care for my body based on the function that I need it to serve and not the way that it looks on the outside. She also talks in engaging in protective filtering. So this is when you be, I grew up with this little song that said, "Be careful, little eyes, what you see." And it's that idea of be careful what images you are bombarding yourself with. And you know what, like a little while ago, the Olympics were on, and when I was, younger, I was never an elite athlete by any stretch of the imagination, but I was, I did gymnastics, fairly, it was a pretty big part of my life. And so for me to look at those gymnasts and to see their body compared to my own just really, 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 really hits something deep in me. And it also reminds me of how deep some of this body image stuff can run. This is reminding me of a story that I didn't think I was going to share right now, but when I was, how old would I have been? I don't know, maybe 12 or 13. So I had been doing fairly heavy competitive gymnastics up until that point, like, 4 days a week kind of thing. And loving it. Definitely was not high up. It wasn't winning any gold medals, but was enjoying the sport. And I broke my collarbone on a dirt biking accident on our farm. And I was out for, maybe 6 or 8 weeks. And then I went back to the gym, and we had a coach that had been brought over from Ukraine who used fear as a tool, and he chose to use me as a tool. So during those 8 weeks, of course, at that age, that's a tender age for girls, kind of that right around that puberty time, and I was very small, of course, working your body that hard. And so during the 8 weeks while I was off, due to the broken collarbone, I grew a lot. And so he chose to use me as an example for the other girls, and put me down, put me in the middle splits, showed the girls how in 2 short months how much flexibility I had lost, pointed out how much weight I had gained, told them that this is what would happen to them if they chose to also quit gymnastics, that they would end up being like me. And it was, I remember again, I'm sure my fight, flight, or freeze adrenaline response kicked in, which I can now look back. But at the time, I just remember feeling numb because, again, with fight, flight, and freeze, I tend to just freeze. So I remember just kind of feeling numb and just kind of leaving and, getting into the car and driving home. And again, probably going home and eating away that pain of how hurtful that was to have been pointed out as the example of what you didn't want your body to look like. So these messages, that was a very, very blunt, bold message, but these messages can also be much more subtle, and we need to be careful of what images we're putting in our minds and what we're buying into. And so I even needed to be careful watching the gymnastics. I know that sounds silly, but that's a point and a trigger that I need to be careful of and be conscious of what kind of cognitive dysfunctions are going on with me while watching that. So we also want to reframe, the article talks about reframing our goals for exercise and eating. And of course, we talk about that at length here. So let's continue to hold on to gentle movement, enjoyable movement that is not harsh or hurtful to our bodies. And of course, we talk a lot about eating in these posts. So if I go on to rewiring my brain, we've talked a lot about some of the things I've been doing lately, whether it's trying to catch those thoughts captive and recognizing, cognitive dysfunctions, or just grounding, lots of grounding techniques, lots of breathing exercises, and trying really hard to practice appreciation. So practice appreciation is kind of funny because I think I mentioned the other day that I was having a really hard time coming up with my own appreciations, but this is where either practicing appreciation with someone else, where you can actually kind of piggyback on one of their appreciations, or having a appreciation booklet is really helpful. And for me, having an appreciation photo library is really helpful because I love pictures, and seeing old pictures really helps me to get back into an old memory and really delight in it again. So that has been a very helpful tip for me. Insulin-friendly eating, I mentioned yesterday that I had been just ravenous and just feeling very full and even on the bloated side, and yet not satisfied. And so I did check my tracker. I use this great app called Kindara to track my cycle, and indeed my cycle is upon me, so that's likely why I'm feeling that. So I've just been trying to just really nourish, and then today I remembered that, hey, I've actually been looking to be satiated, which usually then I turn to healthy fats, but forgetting kind of about healthy carbohydrates, which are so energizing and which are food for our brain. So I forget these things so easily. So I remembered that and incorporated some healthier, energizing carbohydrates into my meals today, which has been helpful to sustain what is now becoming not such a totally unsatisfying eating experience. So, sleep last night, same thing, went to sleep early, woke up between 1 and 3, but did not get on a screen. Yay! So I was able to just kind of drift in and out of sleep again, and went back to sleep, got up nice and early this morning. So I'm going to keep at that. I'm going to keep trying to not look at that screen. It's so hard, just laying there and thinking, I should just check my email or just check whatever. So, but I really think that it helps me to get a better sustained sleep if I don't. So I will keep trying that and let you know how it goes. In terms of hydration, a little bit blotchy today, but I think sufficient. Exercise, based on my redness, you can see that I've had a nice walk today, and my reward is really this constant idea that there are things that sometimes my head goes first. My head goes first in realizing, my head goes first in understanding, my head goes first in learning, and my heart automatically doesn't follow, but it will get there. It gets there little by little, more and more. And so I have hope and this reward of knowing that even with my body image, that more and more I hope and pray that I will be able to look into the mirror, and then that automatic response will be acceptance and will be gratitude, rather than that automatic response being something that is harsh. So I know that continues to reveal something that is true within me, that needs to be cared for, and that needs to be worked on. So I'm grateful to have you along for the journey, and I will look forward to seeing you tomorrow. Bye for now.